Welcome to This Wild Journey, the podcast where your body, your brain, and your battle plan come together. If you're reeling from betrayal trauma, drowning in the chaos of divorce or custody court, feeling overwhelmed by post-trauma parenting, you are in the right place. We're here to untangle hard truths that bring clarity and courage so you can reclaim your power, protect your peace, and resolve trauma without reliving it. Let's get to work. Welcome back to This Wild Journey, where we help protective parents navigate trauma, toxic stress, and the family court jungle with strategy and somatic support that actually works. If you love our info-packed, trauma-informed episodes, just pause right now and send this to another parent who needs some encouragement and support today. I'm Sarah McDugal, and we're finishing out our family movie night series about the wild robot with an episode that every protective parent needs. How do I help my child heal when I can barely keep myself together?
Oh, yeah, that's a question we hear all the time. And today,
Truly.
we're going to break it down gently, practically, and through the story of one little goose with a very fierce robot mom.
I resemble this remark. Fierce robot mom. I mean, not really robot, but hey, I'll take it. So, Bren, this episode is for the protective parents listening who have kids that are jumpy or shut down, melting down, zoning out, or just chronically dysregulated. And they're thinking, I know my kid is struggling, but so am I, and I don't even know where to start.
Yes. And first, I want to say if that's where you are, it doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It doesn't mean things are hopeless. Your child is not irreparably broken. They're adaptive, but they've had to survive things they didn't have words for yet. And that's caused challenges that desperately need support so they don't become ingrained ways of coping. Just like Bright Bill, our little gosling in this movie.
Yes. Bright Bill was just a baby when he experienced massive trauma. And Roz stepped in, but she didn't know how to comfort him in typical nurturing ways. She had to learn, and so did he.
Exactly. And children don't often regulate through words. Neither do we. But they regulate through
True.
co-regulation. They borrow your calm. They mirror your rhythm. They watch your body, your face. They listen to your tone of voice to know what's safe. And in this movie, Bright Bill doesn't need Roz to be perfect. He needs her to be steady and secure and consistently safe.
Exactly. I mean, just grown up to grown up, mom to mom, how often do you calm down when someone tells you, just calm down, stop freaking out?
Never.
Never. Exactly. That is a guaranteed escalation button right there. If I'm frustrated or worried about something, you tell me, just calm down. I'm not going to be happy. But, kids are the same way. And so the more regulated we are, the more they can borrow our calm.
Right.
They can mirror our rhythm. The more tense and anxious and scared you are, your kids know you. They read you. I remember my youngest telling me, Mom, I always knew when you were crying and my heart would hurt for you. And this was quite a while ago, but I said, what are you talking about? I very intentionally never cried in front of my kids. I did not share my emotions with them. And she said, I know you didn't cry in front of us, but I felt it from the other room. Now, my kid is a huge empath and really feels other people. But at the same time, all children tend to be very tuned with a parent's emotions.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that sensory safety. A lot of kids from trauma backgrounds, and especially neurodivergent kids too, have sensory processing differences. How do we as parents support that?
That's such a good question. Sensory sensitivity is your child's nervous system saying, I'm overwhelmed and I need less input in order to feel regulated and calm. You'll see this when they flinch at loud sounds, if they refuse scratchy clothes
Or tags
or tags.
or socks with seams.
Exactly. And when I say flinch at loud sounds, also sometimes even literally covering their ears when they're in a noisy space, looking like they want to escape. They could melt down in crowds, in fact, or they could avoid eye contact or avoid big hugs. And none of that is
Right.
rudeness, even though it might translate socially as disrespectful or rigid, but it's actually their God given survival wiring kicking in. And what helps
Yeah.
are predictable routines, soft textures or textures that they enjoy, or weighted blankets, as you
Mhm.
mentioned in the last episode, gentle lighting, slowing your own voice and movements down. And when Roz speaks softly and when she lets Bright Bill cuddle in close, she's creating sensory
Mhm.
safety without even realizing it. And trauma parents can do the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of it is just about the atmosphere around us that we create with our body, our movements,
Yeah.
our body language, the tone of voice, and being really in tune with our kids from a perspective of not being punitive, like, hey, you have to go give that person a hug. You have to
Mhm.
act fine in a big, noisy crowd. But instead, tuning into what our child actually needs. So, what about emotional dysregulation? When a child is constantly acting out or melting down or lashing out, what about that? Because
Yeah,
that happens a lot, especially with traumatized kids.
right. And just remember that behavior is communication. So a meltdown is your child saying, I don't have the tools to explain what I'm feeling, and it's too much for my system right now. So instead of harsh words or punishment, what they need is containment. So you stay calm even when they
Mhm,
can't. Empathy, maybe say, that was really hard, huh? Naming feelings
mhm.
to help them to do the same. Like, you seem really mad. Do you think that was because it felt unfair? And
Mm.
regulation anchors like holding something soft or moving their body to complete the stress response cycle, or maybe practicing a stress regulation tool together. Roz doesn't punish Bright Bill for being sad. She lets him feel and she stays close until he's ready to open up, but without smothering or getting clingy.
I love that you're not giving us scripts to just fix your kid. Instead, you're giving us tools to create the conditions for regulation.
Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome.
That's it exactly. You're not fixing your child. You're focusing on safety.
Right.
Safety as sensed in the autonomic nervous system, in their autonomic nervous
Right.
system, because safety is what creates
Mhm.
the foundation for emotional growth and for sensory integration and secure attachment.
Right. So then, what about when kids start remembering or realizing and recognizing the reality of what they've lived through, what they've experienced? We see this in the movie. Bright Bill starts to get older. He starts asking some hard questions. He wants to know why he doesn't have a goose family. He wants to know why he's different. He wants to know how all of this played out. And like most protective parents, Roz hasn't got a clue how to answer those effectively.
Right.
So what do we do?
That's such a key moment in the movie. As children mature, their awareness catches up with their
Mhm.
experience. So they might say things like, "Why didn't you tell me what really happened?"
Mhm.
Or, "Why did I have to see dad do that?" Or,
Yeah.
"Why didn't anyone stop it?" And that's when your job shifts. You're not just creating a sense of safety in the body, you're creating safety in the story. You say something
Mhm.
like, "You're right to have big feelings about that," or "You didn't deserve any of that," or "I carried what I could for you because I wanted you to feel safe. And I'm here now, ready to talk when you are." That's the Roz moment.
Right.
Just holding space when Bright Bill lashes out because she knows he's grieving, not rejecting her.
I think that's really key because it is incredibly common when you're a protective parent who has very likely sacrificed all the things. You have given up career opportunities, you've given up maybe your home, you've fought a cripplingly expensive legal battle, you may have taken a toll on your health, and here your kids are suddenly super upset and they're lashing out at you. And it is really easy and really common for a protective parent to take that as rejection of everything they've done for the child, of all of that sacrifice. And it is really beautiful in the movie how Roz, I mean, she's hurting. It's painful when Bright Bill lashes out at her,
Mhm.
but she doesn't reject him back.
Right.
She does get to the place where she realizes he's grieving. And on the flip side, just from the court point of view, I want to point out that it's really important to avoid telling kids the adult details because that can get you in massive trouble
Uh-huh.
in court. But you have every right to validate what they personally experienced.
Right.
So I loved that you said clearly you have big feelings about that. You didn't deserve to be treated that way. But that is very different than, yeah, I know, isn't the other parent an awful person? Or I
Right.
can't wait to tell you all of this stuff. So we want to avoid giving kids adult details and help them regulate without that smothering clinginess or just taking it personal.
Right.
Like, this is your kid's journey. It is not necessarily a personal rejection of you. They are juvenile humans navigating colossal issues without full emotional and psychological maturity or all the tools. So, can you give us a few gentle regulation tools that protective parents can teach their kids when this stuff is going on?
Sure. Here's one that you might have heard of before, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding. Name 5
Mhm.
things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. Now, this is how it's usually done, but I just want to say that I actually prefer leaving out the counting because that's a cognitive exercise and that gets you in your head, and body to brain usually works a lot better than brain to body, and it can actually keep you from grounding sometimes. I would just say name some things you can see. You don't need to count them. Name some things you can touch, name some things you can hear, and so on. But do what works
Right.
for you.
And then you're feeling obligated. Oh my goodness, I can't think of all the things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, it feels very prescriptive. It's a cognitive thing. And when you are in
sure.
a survival mode and you're dysregulated, your prefrontal cortex is pretty much offline. So that's going to actually not work so well. You want to literally like
Yeah.
get into your body and feel what's going on.
They simplify.
Exactly. Now, here's another simple thing. You can just do butterfly taps where you cross your arms over your chest and
Mhm.
tap your shoulders one at a time slowly. So you have your right hand on your left shoulder and your left hand on your right shoulder and just tap left, right, left, right. Very simple.
Yeah.
Another one
Yeah.
is breathe like an animal. And you could use imagery that works with their age range or just their personality. You could say something like blow bubbles like a whale or sniff like a buddy,
Mhm.
because that
Right.
imagery helps us to engage and it helps our children to engage.
Sure.
But just choose imagery that works for them. And then safe place visualization. So just guide them to imagine a cozy, safe spot in their mind. And as they do that, help them to think of what their senses would experience there. What do they see? What do they hear? What do they feel or touch? What do they smell? What would they taste?
Mhm.
And that sensory imagination can actually help them to ground. And they can
Mhm.
return to that place whenever they're overwhelmed. So it's like a safe
That's
place that
great.
they can take with them.
I love those. And we've included some of those actually in our family movie night discussion guide. So if you haven't downloaded that yet for the Wild Robot, definitely grab that. The link is in the show notes, or you can find it at thiswildjourneypodcast.com. I wanted to also say one of the things we want most as parents is to make things safe for our kids,
Mhm.
right? We want to keep our kids safe. And there is a point to which we are able to do that. But also, a huge part of good parenting is equipping our kids for the fact that this world is not a safe place, just in general, and giving them tools to meet the challenges that they are guaranteed to face at some point in life. So, when you're giving them self regulation tools, you're equipping them to be successes in other parts of life because they're going to have other challenges. So you're giving them lifelong tools. What would you say, Bren, to the parent who's worried they've already missed the window? The trauma's too deep, their kids have gotten too old. It just feels irreparable, like you can't fix any of this. What do you say to them?
There's always time for your presence, your warmth, your willingness to stay close while giving your child space to learn. That's what rewires the brain
Yeah.
over time. And also, you can seek outside help too. And that might look like a well trained play therapist, or positive, healthy mentors, or a trauma sensitive occupational therapist to help your child regulate their body. A strong trauma informed community can bring incredible healing. You don't need to say the one perfect thing. You can't possibly erase the past. You just need to offer safety again and again and again. And
Hmm.
that's actually what real healing looks like.
Yeah. It's about the consistency over time, not about one specific magic bullet.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're listening and this episode helped you breathe a little deeper, please go share it with another protective parent who's in the thick of it. And don't forget, our family movie night discussion guide is still available for free at thiswildjourneypodcast.com.
You'll find tools to help you talk with your kids about trauma, belonging, regulation, and how healing happens, even when the beginning was hard.
And remember, you don't have to walk this wild journey all alone. See you next week. Brought to you by Wilderness to Wild. www.thiswildjourneypodcast.com.